everybody. It is day 6 of 101 days live, and I am going to invite Nora to join us, if it will cooperate today. Took a little bit last night to get Angela Huber in here into the room with us, but that's okay. That's just the way technology works sometimes. All right, so as we're waiting for Nora to join us, I will just let you know how I got to meet this wonderful lady. I have been a part of Melissa Walsh's program, and through that I've met Nora and a few other people that had not already crossed my path. So Nora, I didn't really know her when I went to retreat with Melissa this past spring, and I was just blown away because this woman is a powerhouse. She is a trained heart surgeon, and she just has so much knowledge in her brain. It just blows my mind because there's so many things that she can give input on. And today we're going to talk about a leap of sorts, and hopefully she'll be able to get in here. So I'm going to tell you, while we're waiting for Nora, a little bit about my big leap. So I went to college to get my teaching degree. I am certified K through 12 in art education, and I taught for 18 years before I said, I can't do this anymore. This is not good for me. I was physically ill walking into the building, and then I felt fine when I would leave the building. And so my body was telling me it was time for a change. And I eventually listened. I left the teaching gig as far as public schools went back in 2016, and I started working on my art and trying to build the business of being a full-time artist. Well, right before I took off on this journey of living in this RV, I had the opportunity to work for an online school, which has been a huge blessing. It's a public school back in Idaho, but it's all online. It's called I Succeed. Technology, gotta love it. We should do little test runs beforehand. Now I'm going to start doing that. So as we're still figuring out the tech to get Nora in here, hopefully she has more than just the half an hour we had allotted. I will talk a little bit about what that was like for me in making those big leaps. So the first one, of course, really worried my parents when I decided that I was not going to continue teaching in public schools. And making that decision took a lot of trust in the universe and trust in myself that I would be able to do what it takes to not fall back on that teaching degree. And with the online school, I don't feel like I've fallen back on it. Like, I haven't given up on my full-time art business. I just used it as a supplement, because I knew as I was traveling that I would not be as productive with my creativity. But let me see if I could do this. Here we go. Can you give us a little bit about your history? Like, I talked some and told them that you've been trained as a heart surgeon, and just fill us in with whatever information you feel is important for people to understand.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me.
There's about a 5-second delay on my side. So I'm hearing you, and then I'm hearing it again.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll let you do most of the talking
Okay.
because yours is coming through clear for me.
Okay.
If
That's good.
somebody else watching would let us know that she is coming through clear, because that was the important piece of this, please let us know. And I'll turn it over to you.
This is really weird. All right. So, when I was in high school, I never had on my radar to be a doctor. And I ended up in healthcare because I had a grandmother who sort of guided me that direction. I think, given the chance in a different time and age, she would have been a physician. But but I did that, and so I ended up in X-ray tech school, and I did that, and it seemed fine. And I started looking around after I was done, and I decided I wanted to go to medical school. Had this idea that I was going to be a radiologist and do X-rays and things like that. But I got into medical school and I started doing my clinicals, and I got really interested in surgery. And I took this big leap of faith to apply for, and then I matched in a surgery program where being a female in surgery was still somewhat taboo. And so I did it anyway, because I'm one of those people, you tell me I can't do it, and I'm probably going to figure out a way to do it just to prove that I can. And in surgery training, I did the same thing when it came to cardiac surgery. So I sort of have this MO. I find something that I like, and then I try to talk myself out of it. And when I can't talk myself out of it, then that's what I end up doing. And I did cardiac surgery, and I loved it until I didn't. And the same thing that happened with surgery, I loved it until I didn't. In the process of all of this, I got married and I started having children, and my daughter, when she was 1, would cry on the weekends when I took a shower because she thought I was going to go to work. I worked so much, and it broke my heart. So I started to downgrade. I stopped cardiac surgery and I did only thoracic surgery. And then I stopped operating altogether and I did wound care. So I took care of people in a clinic setting, and it was a very discreet, defined commitment. And then one day in September of 2019, I woke up. It was a Wednesday morning, and I thought, you know what? I'm done. And it was a huge, huge decision. But I felt this peace in my heart that I had not felt for years. And I'm very much a conflict avoider. So I sent a text to a friend of mine who was in the know, and I said, what do I have to do to turn in my notice? Because I'm the old school. I'm expecting I have to type up, triplicate resignation letter, and I have to walk in and be brave and hand this paper over and have an exit interview and everything. And she said, well, let me check, but I'm pretty sure you can send an email. And I'm like, oh my God, right? Yay! The introvert is really excited. And she sent me a text back not much longer. And she said, yeah, you can send an email, which was crazy in my mind. So I sent an email, and I resigned, and I had to give 90 days notice. I gave them over 90 days notice, and it was December 31st of 2019. I walked out of the hospital, and I can honestly say that I didn't have tears. I felt liberated. But then the question is, what the hell am I going to do? Because I spent 15 years in school and training to get to that point of being able to go out in the public, and do operations. And this past year, I mean, it really worked out really well because I ended up being home with lockdown and pandemic and everything. Sorry, there's one of my children already. With my kids and helping them navigate this whole changing environment that we've had for the last almost 2 years now. And really have a chance to work on myself, which had been something I'd worked on personal development for a while. And, you know, in retrospect, a lot of the things that I was feeling stressed. I was feeling, when I was at work, I wanted to be home. And when I was at home, I felt like I should be at work. And I was pulled between two worlds. I was missing appointments, and I was dropping obligations, and all of this stuff. And I found myself showing up later and later and later to work. And what it is in retrospect is burnout. I'm a very empathic person. I think what I didn't have was a good way to offload everything that I picked up as I was caring for patients. And to, you know, balance, I think, balance is a dynamic thing. It's like being on a wobble board or a seesaw. You know, when it's not in motion, you can have a steady state, or I mean, it stops, but it's not ever balanced, right? It's an up and down. It's a flow. And so I don't think I could have ever found balance, but I could have found a flow, maybe, that would have worked had I had the right tools.
Yeah, so what does that look like now that you understand that you have that ability to pick up other people's energy and carry that with you? What do you do about that now?
So what it looks like now is I had a whole, I don't know, 6 months or so of daily journaling. And it was a purge, is what it was. It was an offloading of all of this stuff that I had picked up, and all of these. The mind and the subconscious mind are fascinating things, and they have to make sense out of everything. And so I had to release all of these stories that I had made up about what had happened in my life and why things were the way they were. And as I got them out and let them go, then I ended up with a lot of clarity. But what it looks like now is actually meditation and a mindfulness practice where I actively release those things that are no longer aligned with me. And so that can be noticing when I feel agitated, or when I feel sort of on edge or restless or tired or really weighed down. Then I stop and I make a point to just release it. And I don't try to understand what it is most of the time. I just let it go. Because
Right.
understanding it doesn't get me anywhere, right?
Right?
It doesn't get me anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, unless I am going to add this, I'm feeling pushed to add this in.
That's fine.
Unless it is something that comes up and reoccurs over and over again, then it's when you need to sit down and take the time to understand, okay, why am I being triggered by this first? And then what else does this relate to? And where do I need to find that healing to really let this go?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And taking the learning from the situation, but releasing all of the, I don't really want to say negative energy, but the heightened energies, because it's those things that tie us to those memories or those events, and really hold us back from making those forward evolving steps that we're all here to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what can you tell people who are sitting on that edge where they're like, this is no longer where I'm supposed to be? Maybe it's a career, because ours were both big career shifts and just leaving these things. Mine wasn't as expensive of an education as yours, but still, that money was put in, and then you walk away and you're like, wait, is this really what I should be doing right now? How do you what can you tell people who are sitting there with those thoughts, wondering, well, if I leave this, what next? What happens? How am I going to survive?
Absolutely. I've been very blessed in that I have a husband who continues to work. But I realized that morning that I woke up, that I had met everybody I needed to meet in that space. I had learned everything that I needed to learn in that space, and I had helped everybody that I needed to help in that space. And I will say, coming to that day had been 3 to 6 years in the process. And during that time, I'd done the self-reflection. I had done, what I would classify as personal development, but the introspection and it all comes down to trust. You said it earlier, taking that leap. It's that leap of faith, and not just the image that comes to mind is Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, when he's following the path and he has to take that step
Oh,
and
yeah.
trust that the step will be there. It's very much like that. I do that every single day. I get up and I trust that the right things are going to happen because I've put the intention out there. I got really clear, not necessarily about how I wanted things to look in my life, but how I wanted things to feel. And I think a lot of us, there was a day when I realized that I had followed the storybook. I had done everything that I was supposed to do to ride off into the sunset, to have that fairy tale happy ending. And I wasn't happy. And I realized I was pissed off. I was really pissed off. I'm like, I did everything I was supposed to do. It's supposed to be perfect, and it's not. And then, after I had my little tantrum, I realized that I get to write the story. I get to choose how that story goes. I get to choose how, the experiences I want to have, how I want to feel. And that is what I've done, is I've gone through, I don't know if you've done it, but you write a list of 100 things that you want to see, do, feel, accomplish over the next year to 5 years. And it's hard for those of us because we are told to not dream. We're told that we're not supposed to want all of these things. And yet, the universe wants to give us everything that we want, everything that we desire. In fact, it's even better. So if you can focus on that feeling of what you think X, Y, Z is going to bring you, then you get those things that come back to you. So I'm sort of off on a tangent, but you can tell I'm really excited about it.
It was a perfect tangent for you. Yes.
So I would say get clear on how you want to feel and put it out there. So what I did was, as I was making the transition, I was like, I want work that, actually not even I have work. I phrase it in the positive affirmative, that is ethical, that is fun, that is creative, that helps other people so it does good in the world, that challenges me enough but not too much, and actually is lucrative. And I know that that sounds, to me, that's kind of a bad word because I had this block around money, in that I didn't deserve it and you had to work hard for it and all of these other things that had come up. And yet, if you don't have that flow of abundance, you can't continue to do the work that you're here to do. So it's a give and take, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I've actually manifested that. I've brought that into my life. I've got work that is fun and it's paying me and it's challenging and it does good in the world.
That's fantastic. A couple of things before we go for the day. First, what does your mindfulness practice look like? Do you have a routine that you have in the mornings, or is it mine's pretty random, so I am not good at giving that schedule of here's what it looks like.
It's I traveled last week, so I am off my practice. Recently, what it's looked like is laying in bed, plugging in my headphones, and listening to 2 or 3 meditations. One of them is guided, uh, and then the other ones, it just depends. Actually, most of them are guided. One of them is to release energies, negativities, things like that. It's my go-to when I'm feeling really weighed down by a lot of stuff. And the other one is based on a thing called a visibility archetype. So part of the work that I'm doing is working with a woman who has a coaching program with guiding, supporting, teaching women how to step into being visible. And it's let's see, how's the best way to explain it? Visibility is being able to see yourself and allow others to see you. We're in this huge online platform, and if you find yourself not being able to show up consistently for whatever it is that you want to show up for, whether it's your business or dating or friends and family or even just yourself, then most of the time there are blocks. There's resistance to that. And you have to get to the beliefs that are at the core of it to get past that. And so this one that I listened to is based on one of the archetypes, so this groups of behavior patterns. And it's to help empower you to step into your superpowers. And so those really help. So guided meditations. When I'm feeling like I have a little bit more time, then I'll actually sit and do a non-guided meditation. It's more of a combination of the brain balancing that we learned at Melissa's retreat and a binaural track, so that helps to balance the halves of the brain. And then there's journaling, or there's walking outside, or there's some sort of physical movement that goes into it.
Awesome.
But it's not very rigid. It used to be really rigid, and that's what I needed. And now it needs to be a little bit more dynamic.
Yeah. Yes. You spent too many years with the rigid schedules.
Yes.
So you just finished a 4-week mindset reset program.
Yes.
Will you be leading another one of those before the end of the year, or is that something people can look for next year?
I was toying with the idea of running one in December, but December seems really busy. And so probably it'll be after the first of the year. But what I am going to offer is a workshop where, and I haven't worked through all of the details, it might be one day or it might be 2 days, where I'm going to take people through how to write that list of 100, and then make, instead of a vision board, because I think I've got 2 vision boards, I'm not sure that they've actually worked for me, plus I've got a Pinterest vision board, But what we're going to do is we're going to work through a vision picture book. So it's a storybook that you read to yourself twice a day, and you really get into the feelings of what you want to bring into your life. And so for anybody that's interested, we're going to do it inside my group, and I can post a link to the group if they're interested in doing it. And it should be really fun. I've not done one like this before. I've done the vision boards, but I think that that it would be really fun to do. And then you've got the pictures, and you can write your story, and you can read it to yourself, and really get into it, and bring it in for the new year.
Great. Yes, we'll make sure that link is in the comments. Is there anything else, any nugget, any piece of wisdom, anything that you feel that people need to hear right now to close up?
Yes. When you're at that point of decision, come out of your head, come into your heart. So both hands on your heart, close your eyes, and ask the question. You don't need to know what the destination is. All you need to know is the next right step. And ask that question, what is my next right step? And then you have to be willing and open to hear the answer, to receive that answer. And when you do that, taking it one step at a time, you will end up exactly where you need to be.
Yes, perfect. Such good advice for everybody. So thank you so much for spending time with me. My apologies for the technology fun, but it was a lesson for me to do a little private one before we get started in the future. So thank you for your patience, and thank you everyone who joined us. I am so happy our paths have crossed.
Very grateful for you, Jessica. You make my life, I smile every time I see your posts. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Love you so much.
Love you too.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.
Okay.